Hello, my wonderful health warriors. I'm Dr. Ergin. Today we are diving into what might be the most delicious episode of medical education that you have ever experienced. We are talking about pasta and rice for diabetics, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you will know more about blood sugar-friendly carbs than most doctors learned in medical school. Now, before we start, let me be clear. I'm not here to tell you to give up your beloved spaghetti carbonara forever. That would be medical practice against your happiness, okay? Instead, I'm going to show you how to hack your favorite foods using both cutting-edge functional medicine principles and good old-fashioned conventional wisdom. Let's start with a little medical reality check. For decades, we have been told that people with diabetes should avoid pasta and rice like they're radioactive material. But here's what they didn't tell you. It's not about avoiding carbs entirely. It is about choosing the right carbs and eating them the right way. Now, think of your blood sugar like a roller coaster. Most of your blood sugars are roller coaster. I see that, right? So traditional white pasta and rice, that's like terrifying drop that makes you scream and regret your life choices. But the foods I'm about to show you, they are more like a gentle scenic railway through the Swiss Alps. Pleasant, controlled, and you actually enjoy the ride. Let me introduce you to what I call the pasta hierarchy of awesomeness. We are going to rank these from medical emergency waiting to happen to your endocrinologist will high-five you. Starting with the worst offenders, we have traditional white pasta like your classic barilla spaghetti. Now, I love Italy as much as the next person, but these beauties are made from refined semolina flour and pack about 40 grams of carbs per small serving with less than 2 grams of fiber. So when you eat this stuff, it spikes your glucose to over 200 milligrams per deciliter faster than you can say "Mamma mia." It is literally like injecting glucose directly into your bloodstream with just a little more flavor. And don't even get me started on artisanal pasta. Here's the cruel irony of life. The more expensive and delicious the pasta is, the worse it is for your blood sugar. Some of these gourmet options can spike your glucose over 220 milligrams per deciliter, and sometimes the best thing in life really are bad for you. Life is cruel that way. But here's where things get interesting. When we move into what I call the compromise zone, we start seeing some hope. So whole grain pasta, for example, has double the fiber content of regular pasta, and the fiber acts like a speed bump for glucose absorption. Instead of that terrifying blood sugar rocket launch, you get a more gentle rise to around 160 milligrams per deciliter. Now, from a functional medicine perspective, this is where things get really exciting. And that fiber does not just slow down glucose absorption, it feeds your beneficial gut bacteria, which produce short-chain fatty acids that actually improve your insulin sensitivity over time. Your gut bacteria are basically working as your personal diabetes management team. Egg pasta is another option in this middle ground. The added protein slightly buffers the carb load, giving you a modest improvement over regular pasta. It is like putting a band-aid on a broken leg. Helpful, but not exactly revolutionary. But now we are getting to the real game changers, and this is where I get genuinely excited as a doctor. Legume-based pastas made from chickpeas, lentils, or black beans are absolute superstars. These contain about 50% fewer net carbs, 3 times more protein, and 2 to 3 times more fiber than regular pasta. But here's the medical magic that most people don't know about. High protein content in these pastas trigger the release of something called GLP-1, like Ozempic, like Mounjaro. You might recognize that, because you are on these hormones, like the ones that I mentioned. This hormone naturally slows gastric emptying, which means your food moves through the digestive system more slowly, leading to much more stable blood sugar levels without taking the medicine. My absolute favorite in this category is edamame pasta, and we're talking about 20 grams of carbs, 24 grams of protein, and 13 grams of fiber per serving. And when you eat this stuff, it barely registers on your glucose meter. Finding this pasta is like discovering a unicorn in your pantry. But wait, there is more. We have what I call the miracle workers category, and the star of this show is shiitake noodles. And also known as konjac noodles. These translucent jelly-like noodles are made from glucosamine fiber that your body literally cannot digest. So you could eat a swimming pool full of these noodles and your glucose would not budge even a single point. Now, from a functional medicine standpoint, these noodles are pure gold. They feed your beneficial bacteria and may actually improve your insulin sensitivity over time. The only downside, they have a slightly unusual texture that it takes some getting used to. But trust me, when you see your blood sugar staying perfectly stable after a big bowl of pasta, you will learn to love them. Now, let's switch to rice. The grain that feeds half the world and confuses the other half about blood sugar management. I have tested every type of rice that you can imagine and results might surprise you. Starting with what I call the red zone rices, we have all the white rice varieties, right? So long grain, jasmine, basmati, sushi rice, they all pack between 46 to 48 grams of carbs per serving with minimal fiber. And these are essentially glucose tablets disguised as food. They spike your glucose faster than a rocket launch, and frankly, they should come with a warning label. Sushi rice is actually the worst offender of the bunch. So when I tested it, my blood sugar as a non-diabetic spiked higher than with any other rice variety. But here's the interesting twist. When you eat actual sushi with fatty fish, avocado, and cream cheese, all that fat makes your blood sugar spike much more slowly, but stay elevated a lot longer. It's like the difference between a sharp mountain peak and a rolling hill. Both get you to the same height, but the journey is completely different. Moving into the yellow zone, which we have more sensible options there. Brown rice has, for example, 41 grams of carbs, but also 4 grams of fiber and 5 grams of protein. That fiber and protein create what I'll call glucose buffer zone, so your blood sugar still goes up, but it is more like a gentle slope than a cliff. The wild rice is technically not even rice. It is made from seeds of aquatic grass, but whatever it is, it works. With 42 grams of carbs, 6 grams of protein, and 4 grams of fiber, it gives you much more controlled blood sugar response. Black rice is another fascinating option. It is rich in anthocyanins, the same antioxidants found in blueberries. From a functional medicine perspective, these compounds may help improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation. Plus, it has this beautiful, almost purple color that makes your dinner Instagram worthy. But the real champions are in what I call the green zone. The cauliflower rice is basically a vegetable pretending to be rice, and it is doing a fantastic job. With only 5 grams of carbs and 2 grams of fiber per serving, you can eat as much as you want without worrying about your blood sugar. It's like having a get-out-of-jail-free card for rice craving. And then we have shiitake rice, which is the rice world's equivalent of magic trick. Just like the noodles, it has virtually no impact on blood sugar whatsoever. I'm going to give you some doctor's secret weapons, some advanced hacks. Here's where I'm going to blow your mind with some advanced functional medicine strategies that most doctors don't even know about. Test them, ask them, hey, doc, did you know about this? First up is what I call the al dente advantage. Cooking pasta al dente, which means firm to bite, actually lowers the glycemic index by 15 to 20%. The firmer structure requires more energy to break down, which slows the glucose absorption. It is like the difference between drinking orange juice and eating the orange. Same fruit, completely different impact on your blood sugar. But here's my favorite hack, and this one is pure food science magic. When you cook rice or pasta, then cool it in the refrigerator overnight. Something incredible happens. Some of the starch converts to what we call resistant starch, and this stuff acts like fiber and can reduce the glycemic impact by up to 30%. Now, the science behind this is fascinating. When starch cools down, the molecules form tighter bonds that resist digestion. It is like turning your leftover pasta into a blood sugar superhero. I know eating cold pasta doesn't sound appealing, but you can reheat it and still get most of the benefits. Here's another trick that sounds too simple to work, but absolutely does. Adding 1 to 2 tablespoons of vinegar to your pasta or pasta water or rice water can reduce the post-meal spikes by 20 to 25%. So apple cider vinegar is great at this. The acetic acid in the vinegar inhibits alpha amylase, which is the enzyme that breaks down starch into glucose. It's like putting speed bumps on the glucose highway. But perhaps the most important strategy is what I call the protein fat shield. Always eat your pasta or rice with protein and healthy fats. This combination triggers the release of several hormones that work in your favor, such as GLP-1 hormones and CCK. These are increasing satiety and, for example, PYY, which is reducing your appetite. It is like having a whole team of hormones working to keep your blood sugar stable. And think Mediterranean style eating, please. Olive oil, lean protein, vegetables. Your blood sugar will thank you and your taste buds will too. Here's my revolutionary plate architecture approach, and this is something I teach to all of my patients. Imagine your plate divided into 3 equal sections. 1/3 should be your chosen pasta or rice, 1/3 should be non-starchy vegetables, which are your fiber powerhouses, and 1/3 should be lean protein, which acts as glucose stabilizing anchor. And if you want to be more conservative, you can just do 1/4 of your plate, the choices we talked about. Now, this combination will create what I call a metabolic symphony. Each component works together to keep your blood sugar in optimal range. The vegetables provide fiber that slows the absorption. The protein triggers beneficial hormones. And the moderate portion of that pasta or rice satisfies your cravings without overwhelming your system. Do you want to talk about some sauce science? I call this a make or break factor, because this is where many people accidentally sabotage their blood sugar success. Some sauces are absolute champions for blood sugar control. Marinara sauce is low in carbs and high in lycopene, which is great for cardiovascular health. Pesto provides healthy fats from olive oil and nuts. Arrabbiata sauce contains capsaicin, which may actually improve insulin sensitivity. But then we have the villains. For example, Alfredo sauce. With its heavy cream and butter, it creates what I call a glucose traffic jam. Your blood sugar goes up and just stays there for hours. Sweet and sour sauce is basically liquid sugar with a fancy name. If you are going to eat these, you need to plan accordingly with your medication timing and your insulin. Now, timing is everything, guys. There is a dance between insulin and what you eat. So for my friends who use insulin, or my patients, here's some advanced timing strategy for you that can make a lot of difference. With high fiber pastas like those legume-based options, you can inject your insulin right before eating, right? So if you're a type 1 diabetic or insulin-dependent type 2 diabetic. Now the fiber slows everything down, so you don't need that head start and give some time for insulin to work. Now with traditional pasta, you want to inject about 15 minutes before eating to get ahead of that glucose spike. And with creamy sauces, you might need to actually consider splitting your dose, because it's going to be a slower increase in your blood sugar. Take half before the meal and half 1 to 2 hours after, for example. But because of all this fat, like I said, it will slow down and your blood sugar will spike later. The science here is all about matching insulin action with the glucose absorption patterns. It's like conducting an orchestra. Timing is everything. So these injections, especially insulin, they don't just, work magically. You need to know what you're doing with those insulin injections, and most people don't show a lot of effort to learn that. Now here are some evidence-based supplements that actually can further improve your pasta and rice tolerance. Chromium picolinate may improve your insulin sensitivity. Alpha-lipoic acid helps with glucose uptake. Berberine acts like metformin's natural cousin, and cinnamon extract may help with post-meal glucose spikes. Now, I always tell my patients, to read about, to understand supplements, to look at your personal profile, and don't overdo supplements. So take necessary amount, but pay attention to how much of what you're taking. Let me share what happens when my patients implement these strategies, because the results are honestly incredible. I had a patient named, I think her name was Maria, who switched from regular pasta to lentil pasta and saw her post-meal glucose drop from 250 milligrams per deciliter to 140. That's a 44% improvement from just changing one ingredient. Another patient, Jim, started using the cooling method with his rice and reduced his average post-meal spike by 35%. The pattern I see over and over again is that small changes lead to big results, and that's the beauty of evidence-based nutrition. Let me give you diabetes-friendly shopping list so you can start implementing these strategies pretty much immediately. So for pasta, look for Barilla chickpea pasta. You can look for edamame pasta, any brand of shirataki noodles, and ancient harvest quinoa pasta. For rice, stock up on cauliflower rice, either fresh or frozen. Wild rice blends perfectly excellently. Black rice, especially organic varieties, is fantastic. And don't forget the shirataki rice for those times when you want to eat a huge bowl without any blood sugar consequences. Now for sauces, Rao's marinara has no added sugar and tastes amazing. And homemade pesto is always a winner. And sometimes the simplest option is the best. Just olive oil and garlic. Beautiful. Here's a bonus hack that costs absolutely nothing and works like magic. Take a 10 to 15 minute walk, please, after eating pasta or rice. Your muscles will literally soak up glucose from your bloodstream like sponges. The science behind this is also beautiful. Think about this. Exercise activates something called GLUT4 transporters, which help muscle cells grab glucose without needing insulin at all. It's like having a glucose vacuum cleaner in your legs. Even a gentle walk around the block can make a significant difference in your post-meal sugar. So next time your blood sugar spikes, don't blame the pasta. Blame yourself for sitting down after eating that pasta. Also, let me address some common mistakes I see that my patients make. The first one is thinking, I ate whole wheat pasta, so I can eat twice as much. Listen, portion control still matters even with healthier options. These alternatives are better. They're not magical. Another mistake is that, I'll just take some extra insulin and I eat whatever I want approach, right? Well, this leads to blood sugar roller coasters and weight gain. Trust me, just work smarter, not harder. And then there's these alternative pastas taste weird, so I'll just avoid pasta forever crowd. Look, I get that. Some of these alternatives have different textures and flavors, but just try different brands and cooking methods. Your taste buds will adapt, and blood sugar benefits are worth the adjustment period. Let me tell you, the food industry is finally catching up with, or to, what we know about blood sugar management. We are seeing more legume-based options, innovative fiber-enriched products, and better tasting alternatives hitting the shelves every month. So keep an eye on them. And my prediction in 5 years, blood sugar-friendly pasta and rice will be the norm, not the exception. The demand is there, and the science is solid, and the food companies are listening. Here's your step-by-step implementation strategy because I believe in making changes manageable. Week 1, I will try one alternative pasta. I recommend starting with chickpea pasta because it has the most familiar taste and texture. Week 2, experiment with cooling method on your regular rice. Cook a big batch, refrigerate it overnight, and then reheat portions throughout the week. In the week 3, practice the plate architecture method. 1/3 pasta, 1/3 vegetables, 1/3 protein and fat. Make it a habit. And week 4, add the vinegar hack to your routine, right? We talked about that. Start with just 1 tablespoon in your cooking water and see how your body responds. I promise you, if you implement just these 4 strategies, you will see measurable improvements in your post-meal blood sugar levels within a month.